Happy Inspector takes pen and paper-based forms and put them onto mobile devices. We help businesses to reduce all the paperwork that goes on in their day-to-day workflow and digitize everything in their business. We have a wide range of companies that use us, from property management companies that manage a couple hundred doors down to the largest public real estate REIT in the US that manages 120,000 units. Any company that currently has a paper form or process in their workflow, we can take that and put them onto iPads and iPhones. Right, so I actually was trained as a designer at university, and then my first few jobs were in web design, web development agencies, and then I worked for a company called Midway Games, so in video games, when console games were cool.
I started programming when I was about 11, and then I'd been doing it on the side throughout school and at university. Jindo had a consulting business, which was the startup that I moved to. It was just me, Jindo, and another guy, but I was led to believe that it was a little more professional than it actually was. But that all worked out in the end because we started Happy Inspector.
Well, I actually never knew what a startup was until like 2 or 3 years ago. All I knew was, you just create businesses. So I actually, after I finished off working for people, I started my own company, building websites for small to medium businesses, and then sold that company and started an app development consultancy. And that's sort of the genesis of where Happy Inspector was born. So I think the best thing about the StartMate program was that we got exposed to a wide range of mentors. If you speak to someone who's done it before and they can tell you something that helps shorten your learning lesson from 6 months down to a few weeks, you only have to do that 10 times and you've saved yourself like 5 years of time to go through the mistakes, right? So that's really important for us.
For me, it was the friends and mentors that I got out of it. Specifically, the other teams that I was in the batch with, I made some really good friends out of that.
The worst thing was, I think, trying to juggle everything in a short amount of time. Imagine going to doing a university degree, instead of spending 4 years, you do it in 3 months. It was just high pressure, high intensity. You thought you knew a lot of things, but when you actually went through the program, you found out you knew nothing.
It was very intense. When some teams started to raise and others didn't, there was a lot of competition amongst the teams, but that was a pretty brutal period because it was like some of these companies are going to make it and a lot of them are going to fail.
It was humbling, but it was a great experience overall. It's been, I think, over 2 years now since we've graduated. We still catch up with them regularly. We share ideas, share how our business is going, and sort of use them as a bit of a benchmark on how we should be looking at the business and how to perform on a day-to-day level as well.
It's great, like whenever you've got a problem that you're unsure how to solve, you could send out an email to that list and get a dozen replies from very knowledgeable people on whatever the subject was.
Without StartMate, we wouldn't have been where we are today. We've learned a great deal in that short amount of time, managed to take our company from an idea essentially to where it is today. And we're still early on the path, but it was a great platform and springboard for us to launch the company.
I think it took us roughly 2 months after we got here before we closed our first bit of capital, and after that it was pretty smooth sailing.
Investors, regardless of where they are, the same. They're all looking to back a good, successful team, a good idea, a big market. But what we did find that was different was that the Australian investors, their appetite for risk was much less than the US investors.
A lot of the Australian investors will wait until a US investor has invested first to take some of that risk, and then they'll follow along.
Being in Silicon Valley has been a bit of an eye-opener for us, right? Because you meet investors and startups and I suppose an ecosystem that's already been around for a long time. So the appetite for risk is there. They understand what it means to be a startup, but especially a tech startup. So there's great support for entrepreneurs like myself coming through and doing it for the first time. The worst thing about working in Silicon Valley, well, there's two things which I think are pretty bad. One of them is the cost of living. It's probably one of the most expensive places you can live at the moment in the US, actually in the world, right? The other bad thing that I've found is there's a lot of like tech bros over here, or people that are just here to, they're just in love with the idea of being part of a startup, but not actually like, they don't understand that it's a lot of hard work. So for us, we're really fortunate to have an excellent team that just down to earth and not here because we're the next shiny startup coming out of Silicon Valley.
I've made a lot of good friends out of there, so I Skype them quite a bit. When I'm in town, I'll visit them and vice versa.
We're pretty busy ourselves, but we try our best to give back to every new batch that comes through. Not so much monetarily, but more just with time and just giving whatever advice we can give them.
It gives you a whole new way to look at the way that you run a business, which is like invaluable.
If you're looking to make your business a success, if you want to take your little idea and you have a burning desire to make a company a successful company, then that's your cue to essentially apply to next year's Start Mate.